Good day, everyone. We are the Group 4B, or the second set of Group 4, who was assigned to discuss the topic Asian art. So, Asian art is known for its ritual bronzes, beautiful ceramics, jades, textiles, poetic painted landscapes, garden design, and many more art styles. So, before we proceed on to the countries contributing to Asian art, we'll first have to know the history itself of Asian art. So, the history of Asian art or Eastern art includes a vast range of influences from various cultures and religions. Developments in Asian art historically parallel those in Western art, in general few centuries earlier. Chinese art, Indian art, Korean art, Japanese art each had significant influence on Western art and vice versa. So, the history of Asian art is a selective survey of the visual art from prehistory up to the present. This usually emphasizes the understanding of representation of paintings, sculptures, and architectural monuments in their cultural and historical contexts. It is also a study of art from across Asian countries and from the Asian to the present. So it usually covers virtually aspects of art history and experiences. This is also because it looks at the work of art not just as objects, but as a way of understanding the world and the societies in which they were created. So now that we know the history of Asian art, we will now proceed to the table of contents or the contents under the Asian art. So first we have Chinese art, Indian art, Japanese art, Korean art, Tibetan art, and Bhutanese art. First we have Chinese art will be discussed by Mr. Rikaza.
Chinese art history. The oldest continuous art traditions in the world are Chinese art traditions. It can be traced back to the Neolithic period, 10,000 to 2000 BC, also known as the New Stone Age. There are various influences of the Chinese arts. Chinese art and paintings have been influenced by Chinese philosophies of Buddhism, Confucianism, and particularly Taoism, which aims to show a sense of harmony between humans and the larger world. Various types of arts from Chinese arts: paintings, calligraphies, architectures, pottery, sculptures, bronzes, and jade carvings. Paintings. It is also called banking, or in Chinese, they call it banking. Traditional painting involves essentially the same techniques as calligraphy and is done with a brush dipped in black ink or colored pigments. Oils are not used. Calligraphies. Chinese calligraphy is the writing of Chinese characters as an art form, combining purely visual art and the interpretation of the literary meaning. Architecture. Chinese architecture is characterized by bilateral symmetry, use of enclosed open spaces, feng shui, a horizontal emphasis, and an allusion to various cosmological, mythological, or in general, symbolic elements. Pottery. The history of Chinese pottery, often called ceramics, spans over 10,000 years, showcasing a remarkable evolution in craftsmanship and artistic expression. Originating in the Neolithic period, early Chinese communities crafted rudimentary pottery for utilitarian purposes, such as storage and cooking. Sculptures. Chinese sculptors have sculpted delicate objects such as figures, animals, plants, and landscapes, with a number of new kinds of raw materials such as sand and coal, apart from the traditional bronze and jade. Many of the works have become precious artistic pearls in the treasure house of Chinese art. Bronzes. The Bronze Age in China may be described as ritual vessels intended for the worship of ancestors, who are often named in the inscriptions on the bronzes. Jade carvings. Jade carving is one of the oldest and most important art forms in China, a craft steeped in history and tradition that reflects Chinese philosophy and culture. As we all concluded, Chinese art relies heavily on their philosophies and their beliefs.
Now, let's talk about the art in India. Ang Indian art ay binubuo ng iba't ibang uri ng arts, including painting, sculpture, pottery, and textile arts such as woven silk. And geographically, sakop nito ang buong Indian subcontinent. Kabilang dito ang tinatawag ngayong India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and at times Eastern Afghanistan. A strong sense of design and characteristics of Indian art and can be observed in its modern and traditional forms. The origin of Indian art can be traced to prehistoric settlements in the 3rd millennium BC. On its way to modern times, Indian art has had cultural influences as well as religious influences, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and Islam. In spite of this complex mixture of religious traditions, generally, the prevailing artistic style at any time and place has been shared by the major religious groups. Indian artists' styles historically followed Indian religions out of the subcontinent, having an especially large influence in Tibet, Southeast Asia, and China. Indian art has itself received influences at times, especially from Central Asia and Iran and Europe. So these are examples. Yakshi bracket figure is Taran of the Great Stupa at Sanji in Madhya Pradesh, India. Ito ay isang uri ng artistic representation sa Hindu art, and it is a mythical creatures na tinuturing mahiwagang diwata o spirit at kadalasan makikita sa architecture ng Hindu, particularly sa mga gateway ng temple. The second one is the priest cave. It is a carved statuette found during excavation of the Bronze Age city of Mohenjo-daro. Ito ay isang element sa temple, and it describes as leader that has religious and spiritual roles. Two main traditions of painting in India. So there are two main traditions of painting in India, which are the traditional and modern art. The traditional Indian art includes mural, sculpture, and miniature painting kung saan pinapakita dito ang mythological and religious meaning. Whereas sa modern India art naman, it depicts everyday life, globalization, and various spiritual aspects. Indian art is divided into specific periods throughout history. Each period reflects certain religious, political, and cultural relevance and developments, the earliest of which are of the petroglyphs similar to those found in Bhimbetka, some of which dates to before 5500 BC and would continue to exist for several millennia. Petroglyphs are rock carvings typically created by removing part of a rock surface using stone tools to reveal a design. So this is the example of petroglyphs. In Bembetka cave painting, dito naman nakaukit sa bato ang mga larawan. The painting depicts scenes of daily life, animals, hunting, and rituals providing insights into early human culture. For examples, the Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization, was one of the world's oldest urban cultures. The civilization was characterized by well-planned cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Marami ang pagbabago ang naitulot dito, katulad na lamang ng advanced architecture, writing system, trading, agriculture, and craftsmanship. Next is Ajanta Caves in Maharashtra. The Ajanta Caves are a kingdom of stages and rock forests located in the state of Maharashtra, India. It is known for its Buddhist art and architecture. This temple is considered one of the greatest works of Hindu architecture, where the worship of Lord Shiva is promoted, and the Ellora Caves naman are known for their intricately carved structures and sculptures depicting Hindu mythology. In Ajanta Caves painting, it has colorful murals that depicting events from the Buddha's life. This art features a high level of paint skill and fine drawing, while the frescoes naman are creative and mas detailed. The colors and details of the paintings bring the stories to life and contribute to the overall experience of the wearers. Royal Hunt Mahabharata. Royal Hunt meaning mga scenes from the epic Mahabharata depicting a royal hunt. The Mahabharata is a great Hindu epic that contains important lessons and stories from Indian mythology. The contributions of the Mughal Empire to Indian art, kabilang dito ang Mughal painting style of miniature painting, heavily influenced by Persian miniatures and Mughal architecture. Mughal architecture is known for its use of marble, colorful decorations, and grand structures. The Taj Mahal, the Taj Mahal built by Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. Persian miniatures are small paintings with vivid colors and intricate details. Ferdowsi, a famous Iranian poet, contributed epics like Shahnameh or Book of Kings. Mughal art, special the miniatures features excellence in paint and performance. Siva Travelogue can be a collection of paintings depicting scenes, journeys, or stories related to Lord Shiva, an important deity in the Hindu religion. During the British Raj, modern Indian painting evolved as a result of combining traditional Indian and European styles. Ravi Barma was a pioneer of this period. The Bengal school of art developed during this period, led by Abanindranath Tagore, Gaganindranath Tagore, Jamini Roy, Mukul Dey, and Nandakal Bose. Here's one of the most popular art forms in India is called Rangoli. Isa siyang traditional art form in India where vibrant and colorful patterns are created on the ground. Madalas makikita ito sa mga festival and special occasion. The visual arts, sculpture, painting, and architecture are tightly interrelated with the non-visual arts. According to Kapila Vatsyayan, classical Indian architecture, sculpture, painting, literature, kavya, music, and dancing evolved their own rules conditioned by their respective media, but they shared with one another not only the underlying spiritual beliefs of the Indian religious philosophic mind, but also the procedures by which the relationship of the symbol and the spiritual states were worked out in detail. Sa madaling salita, ang sining sa India ay naglalarawan ng masalimuot na ugnayan sa mga aspeto ng buhay at kultura nito. The understanding of philosophical thought and general context ay mahalaga upang higit na maunawaan ang kahulugan at halaga ng mga likhang sining na ito. Sculpture was a common practice among Indian Buddhists and Hindus. Hinduism continued to be a main focus of Indian art for centuries as sculptures of deities like Shiva were commonly produced. By the 16th century, Islam gained importance under the Mughal Empire and art production grew under Islamic rulers. During this time, the arts prospered and in 1631 construction began on the Taj Mahal. The notable Indian architecture. The first one is Konark Sun Temple. It was built in the 13th century. This impressive temple is dedicated to the Hindu sun god Surya. It was carved from stone in the form of a 100-foot-high chariot with immense wheels and horses. The second one naman is the Iron Pillar Delhi. This pillar built in the 4th century features Sanskrit inscription in Brahmi script that states it was created in honor of the Hindu god Vishnu. The pillar showcases India's prowess in metallurgy, a branch of science that focuses particularly on the properties, production, and purification of metals.
Hello everyone, I am Magnolia Olasco and I will be the reporter for the Japanese art topic. The topics included are the Japanese art, ukiyo-e, Japanese paintings, Japanese calligraphy, list of national treasures of Japan, and lastly is the manga. So let's proceed to the Japanese art. Art in Japan has undergone a series of transition and periodization, from being an isolated nation to that embracing Western influences and modernization. Japanese has transitioned into modern cultural mixing pot, and it is also evident how the Japanese were able to infuse the local and indigenous materials with a modern Western subject and focal points. And our second topic is all about the Japanese art ukiyo-e. Ukiyo-e means the floating word. It refers to the reckless young culture that bloomed in the urban center of Edo, Osaka, and Kyoto, that were the word unto themselves. Edo means the modern day of Tokyo. Also, the Japanese ukiyo-e genre thrived from the 17th through 19th century, and it is the artists produce woodblock prints and painting, and some of the subjects are the female beauties, kabuki actors, sumo wrestler, scene from the history and folktales, the travel scenes and landscape, and lastly is the flora and fauna. Ukiyo-e are handmade prints that enable printers to blend their favored bright, sharp colors with contours done with the sumi ink on the printing blocks. Some of the characteristics of ukiyo-e are its subject matter, the woodblock printing technique, having a colorful and detailed imagery. Fourth is a prominent artist, and lastly is the social commentary and popular culture. Now let's proceed for the Japanese painting, kaiga. Kaiga is one of the oldest and most highly refined of Japanese art, encompassing a wide variety of genre and styles. As with the history of Japanese art in the general, the history of Japanese painting is a long history of synthesis and competition between native Japanese aesthetic and adoption of imported ideas. Some painting of the Japanese kaiga is the Homo period pottery. It is the first settler of Japan that Homo people, and named for the cord marking that decorated the surface of their clay vessels, were nomadic hunter-gatherers. of Asian earthenware pottery which has made during the Homo period in Japan. The term Homo means roof pattern in Japanese, and it describing the pattern that are pressed into the clay. Last example of art is the Ryukyuan. The second example is the Yayoi art. Yayoi art is sometimes used for rituals, and it is the oldest Dotaku found date from the 2nd and 3rd century. They say it's bringing knowledge of wetland rice cultivation, and it is the manufacture of copper weapons and bronze bells called Dotaku. The third is the Coupon art. Coupon art represents a modification of Yayoi culture, and its typically artifacts are bronze, mirrors, and symbolize of political alliances called Haniwa. The last art is called Ryukyuan lacquerware. Ryukyuan lacquerware refers to the traditional lacquerware produced in Ryukyu Island, which include the Okinawa and the surrounding areas in Japan. This form of craft has a unique styles that reflect the distinct cultural and historical influences of the region. This technique, also known as chusu or raden, that produce a durable and glossy surface. Some of the features of Ryukyuan lacquerware is the materials and techniques, the distinct designs, having a vibrant color, the practical and decorative item, and lastly is the cultural significance. Fourth about Japanese art is their Japanese calligraphy. Japanese calligraphy, also known as shodo, and it is the traditional art of writing characters with a brush and ink. It involves creating aesthetically pleasing and expressive character, often using Chinese character called kanji, as well as the Japanese hiragana and katakana. Japanese calligraphy has a rich history and cultural significance, and it continues to be practiced and appreciated as both tradition art form and means of personal expression in contemporary Japan. Here are some of the examples of Japanese calligraphy font. First is the Japanese kanji font. Kanji is also known in Japanese as Chinese character in the Japanese writing system, or sometimes it called ideograms, means character that adapted from the Chinese character. Kanji are also used for writing nouns, adjective, adverbs, and verbs. The second is Nihongo. Nihongo is the principal language of the Japonic language family spoken by the Japanese people. The third example of Japanese calligraphy is the hiragana. Hiragana font is a simple version of kanji. It uses a simple curvy lines to write the kanji easier. The fourth is the katakana font. Katakana is an East Asian syllabary written vertically right to left and horizontally left to right. Some of the aspects of Japanese calligraphy is the brush and ink, expressive brushwork, character styles, balance and composition. Some of the aspects of Japanese calligraphy is the brush and ink, expressive brushwork, character styles, balance and composition. Our fifth topic is all about the list of national treasures of Japan, the paintings. Kenji, or also known as Genji Monogatari, is a classic work of Japanese literature written in early 11th century by the noblewoman, poet, and lady-in-waiting called Murasaki Shibuki. The original manuscript created around the peak of Heian period are no longer exist. It was made in concertina or Orohian style, severely sheet of paper pasted together and folded alternately in one direction then the other. This painting is the Great Wave of Kanagawa. Kanagawa Oki Namura is one of the most iconic and recognized work of Japanese art. It is a part of a series woodblock print titled 36 View of Mount Fuji, created by ukiyo-e artist Katsushika Hokusai. It is a prominent ukiyo-e painter and a printmaker of Edo period in Japan. The print is believed to have been created around 1831 during the Edo period. Hiroshige or Otagawa Hiroshige 1997 to 1858 was a Japanese ukiyo-e artist and one of the last great master of ukiyo-e tradition during the Edo period. He is best known for landscape prints, particularly his series 53 Station of Tokaido and 100 Famous View of Edo. Hiroshige contributes to the ukiyo-e genre, and his influence in subsequent art movement have secured his place as one of the Japanese most celebrated artists. His print continued to captivate audience worldwide for their beauty, craftsmanship, and evocative depiction of Japanese landscape. Sharaku is a mysterious and enigmatic ukiyo-e artist who emerged during the Edo period in Japan. It actively for a brief period in the late 18th century, around 1794 to 1795. Sharaku produced a distinctive and unconventional series of woodblock prints featuring the kabuki actors. Sharaku's brief yet impactful contribution to ukiyo-e has left a lasting impression on the art world. His prints continue to be studied and appreciated for their unique portrayal of kabuki actors and mysterious circumstances surrounding the artist himself. The last topic included in the Japanese art is the Japanese manga. Manga is a style of Japanese comic or graphic novel. It often features distinctive art, black and white drawings, and it is read from right to left. Manga cover a wide range of genres and is popular for its diverse storytelling, appealing to readers of all ages. And has become a global phenomenon with many manga series being translated into different languages.
Before we start, I want to introduce myself. I am Mika Angela Naling and our topic is Korean art. Are you curious about Korean culture? Many people are since the culture in South Korea is becoming more popular all across the globe. Perhaps you've heard about K-pop, K-dramas, Korean food, or Korean movies, but don't know much about them. Or maybe you've just heard a lot about South Korea in general, and you're curious what the country is all about. History of Korea. Professionals have begun to acknowledge and sort through Korea's own unique art culture and important role in not only transmitting Chinese culture but also assimilating it and creating a unique culture of its own. Number two, Korea arts include tradition in calligraphy, music, painting, and pottery, often marked by the use of natural forms, surface decoration. The earliest example of Korean art consists of Stone Age works dating from 300 before Christ era. These mainly consist of votive sculpture, although petroglyphs have also been recently discovered. Korean artists sometimes modify Chinese tradition with a native preference for simple elegance, purity of nature, and spontaneity. And the another one is the Goryeo dynasty, 1918 to 1392. It is one of the most prolific periods for the artist in many disciplines, especially in pottery. The history of Korea dates back almost 5,000 years. The country started modernization and economic development in the late 19th century, a process blocked by Japanese colonial annexation in 1910. Rapid economic and industrial development began again in the 90s. Established Go Joseon in 2333 BC, meaning Korea have many cultures and tradition behind it, such as calligraphy, music, paintings, and pottery, and also sculpture is included even though it is recently discovered. And did you know that Goryeo dynasty is it is funded of massive armies of red turban rebels from China and professional Japanese pirates in its twilight years of 14th century. A final proposed attack against the Ming dynasty resulted in a coup led by General Yi Sung-ge that ended the Goryeo dynasty. Melon-shaped wine ewer. Melon-shaped ewer with bamboo decoration. First half of 12th century. This elegant ewer demonstrates the Goryeo potter's technical skill and conceptual sophistication in transforming everyday motifs from nature. In this case, a melon and bamboo into a functional and aesthetically pleasing vessel. Did you know this miniature wine was buried in a tomb for the soul of the this description? Many Celadon ceramics such as this miniature pots have been repaired with gold lacquer. And this is the melon-shaped wine ewer. This pottery was made from clay and fired over open or semi-open pits at temperatures around 700 degrees Celsius. The earliest pottery style dated to circa 7000 BC were flat bottom wares or Yungi moon were decorated with relief design, raised horizontal lines, and other impressions. The another one is the Neolithic art, which is we can see in the picture every detail at that the pot was made. And Neolithic art is Korean ancient pottery improved during the era of Neolithic art, 10,000 to 3,000 before Christ era, with the creation of flap bottom vessel decorated with zigzag patterns, followed by coup pattern pottery 3,000 before Christ era. And did you know that comb pattern pottery, the bezel form found in early comb pottery, is a simple V shape with a pointed or rounded bottom? The surface is entirely covered with impressed or incised line or slanting and parallel arranged in either horizontal or vertical rows so as to produce a sort of tones comb rather pattern. In later pottery, the clay is often tempered with a asbestos or talc stone, and the base of the vessel tends to be flat. The earlier space-filling linear design yields to more sparsely placed curvilinear designs consisting of that, which is that is on this part that include our we can see the details of the pot that has consisting of that already mentioned on the description about it. The next one is Juyul Moon Pottery Period. The Jewel Moon Pottery period is named after decorated pottery vessels that form a large part of pottery assemblage consistently over above period, especially 4000 to 2000 BC. Jewel Moon, or what we call Hangul or Hanja, means comb pattern or meaning a boom in the archaeological excavation of Julmun period sites since the mid 90s has increased knowledge about this important formative period in the prehistory of East Asia. And another definition of Julung or Julmun period is an archaeological era in Korean prehistory broadly spanning the period of 8000 to 1500 BC. This period is subsumed the Mesolithic and Neolithic culture stages in Korea, lasting at the Korean paths characteristic are the steel or spore marks to be seen on the otherwise glazed base. The people of the Julmun practiced a broad spectrum economy of hunting, gathering, foraging, and small-scale cultivation of wild plants. It was during the Julmun that the cultivation of millet and rice was introduced to the Korean peninsula from the Asian continent. And another one is Bronze Age. In Korea, the Bronze Age began around the 15th century before Christ's era with the everyday use of mumun pottery. Groundstone tools and wooden tools during this period, only a few people obsess or know it is possess bronze tools which serve either as symbol of authority or as instruments. Korean sword have served a central place in the defense of nation for thousands of years. Although typical Korean land battles have taken place in wild valleys and nature, no, not narrow mountain passes which favor of the spear and bow. The sword found use as a secondary close quarters weapon, especially useful during sieges and ship-to-ship boarding action. Higher quality of ceremonial sword were typically reserved for the officer corps as a symbol of authority with which command the troops. Ceremonial swords are still granted to military officials by the civilian authority to this day. Korean swords typically fall into two broad categories, the gyum and the do. Another fun fact about Korean sword is typically fall into two broad categories, the gyum and the do. The gyum is the double-edged weapon, while the do is a single-edged weapon, although exception exists. In the common parlance, all swords may be referred to as gyum or Korean translation or with the use of hangul or hang. Comma-shaped beads. Comma-shaped beads magatama, meaning less frequently or are curved. Comma-shaped beads that are appeared in prehistoric Japan from the final Jomon period through the Kofun period, approximately 1000 before Christ era to the 6th century CE. And it is called Gubunuk or guguk are comma-shaped or curved beads and jewels that appeared from Middle Age of Mumun period start from 1500 to 300 BC through the Three Kingdom of Korea 57 BC to 668 AD. The next slide is about Iron Age. The transition from the late Bronze to early Iron in Korea begins in the 4th century BCE. This corresponds to the later stage of Joseon, the Jin State period in the south, and the Proto Three Kingdom period of the 1st to 4th century CE. The period that begins after the 3000 BCE can be described as protohistoric or a time when some documentary sources seem to describe societies in the Korean peninsula. Another one is the Three Kingdom. The Three Kingdom of Korea as Gogok would remain a salient feature of Korean royal paraphernalia, cilia, and beige. The range in size from 1 to 10 centimeter or 0.39 to 3.94 in and are oftentimes fashioned with a hole to be attached to threaded to another subject. The origin of these comma-shaped jewels are posited by some originate from the dragon-shaped jade ornament of the Hongsan culture. And this slide is the Three Kingdom, which is Che, the most common name used by the most historian is Che, meaning 100 countries, but was originally founded by Onjo, as which figuratively means tens of countries. Only during the reign of Gyeongchogo was it renamed as Baekje after the Eighth Four Kingdoms War between Silla and Gaya. Gaya was influenced by Silia's southeast peninsular hegemony but diplomatically utilized the influence of Japan and Baekje to maintain independence. The Gaya Confederacy disintegrated under the pressure of Goguryeo between 391 to 412. The name of Silla capital changed into its late Middle Korean from Shobyul, meaning royal capital city, which changed to Seoul soon after and finally resulted into Seoul in the modern Korean language. And the next one is the Goguryeo. Goguryeo is also called Goryeo, was a Korean kingdom located in the northern and central part of Korean peninsula and the southern and central part of Manchuria. At its peak of power, Goguryeo controlled most of the Korean peninsula, large part of Manchuria, and part of eastern Mongolia and eastern Mongolia. Goguryeo, did you know that Goguryeo gave its name to its modern state of Korea? Goguryeo was in constant rivalry with a smaller Baekje or Pakche and Silya Kingdom as well as contemporary Gaya or Kaya Confederation and regional heavyweight of China. Baekje. Baekje was found as a member of the Mahan Confederacy. Two sons of founder of Goguryeo are recorded to have fled a succession conflict to establish Baekje around the present Seoul area. Baekje absorbed or conquered other Mahan chiefdoms and at its peak in the 4th century controlled most of the western Korean peninsula. Buddhism was introduced to Baekje in 384 from Goguryeo, which Baekje welcomed. And Baekje is recognized as one of the three kingdoms alongside of Goguryeo and Silla, and it existed from 18 BC to 660 AD. The kingdom was founded by King Onjo and was regarded for its great maritime power, which was significant as it resulted in the dissemination of Buddhism throughout Southeast Asia. Next, Silla. According to the Korean records, in 57 BC, Soryorabul or Saro later Silla in the southeast of the peninsula unified and expanded the confederation of the city-state known as Jinhan, although Samgyuk Osaji records that Silla was the earliest founded of the three kingdoms. Other written and archaeological records indicate that Silla was likely the last of the three to establish a centralized government. Silla was the smallest and weakest of the three kingdoms of Korea, but it is the cunning diplomatic means to make opportunistic pacts and alliances with the more powerful Korean kingdoms and eventually Tang China to its great advantage. Another definition of Silla is under the Silla dynasty, Korea, which was one of the earliest of the nation states to emerge, assumed many cultural and linguistic and geographic features in its maintained today. Other arts of Korea. Korean art is characterized by transition in main religion at that time. Early Korean Shamanese art, then Korean Buddhist art, and Korean Confucian art through the various forms of Western art in 20th century. Artworks in metal, jade, bamboos, textiles have a limited resurgence. Art in Korea has flourished in both tangled and entangled form. This chapter shows all forms of traditional arts ranging from Gogak national music and so on and so forth, including the religion that I have been mentioned on this slide. Another one is Korean calligraphy and printing. is scene art where brush stroke reveal the artist's personality, enhancing the subject matter that is painted. These arts form represent the apogee and Korean Confucian art. The question is, what is calligraphy in painting? Calligraphy is the art of forming beautiful symbols by hand and arranging them well. It's a set of skills and technique for positioning and inscribing words so they show integrity, harmony, some sort of ancestry, rhythm, and creative fire. Just like this. The another one is Korean fabric art, our craft of making fabric and textile produced by the people on the Korean peninsula. They have a long history which include fabrics such as guksa, nobang, sha, jeongmidan, Korean made jacquard, brocade, or satin, or crafts such as Korean Gilts or quilts known as gojagi, Korean embroidery, Korean knots, Korean clothing, and the very rare arts of the Korean blinds weaving and Korean paper clothing. In old time, people usually wore natural dyeing clothes, and Korean fabric is the oh, South Korean textile is particularly known for its delicate weaving and needlework. The material of special use include cotton, silk, and hemp. Key technique include jasujang or embroidery and gugabu, meaning patchwork quilts, and nubijang or quilting, and bujagi or wrapping cloth. The another one is the Korean mat. The question is, what do Korean mat mean? In the rolling palaces, mat were used to signify dignity and prestige. For religious purposes, knots decorated Buddhist ornament. The most common use of knot was in norige, traditional Korean ornaments worn by women to decorate clothing. And Korean knot is a traditional handicraft which made using one or more threads. Korean knots have unique braiding technique and are tied mainly without the use of tools. In the past, knots were used to carry tools for hunting, communication, and records or a symbol of status. Korean paper art. Korean paper art or hanji is the name of traditional handmade paper from Korea. And hanji is made from the inner part of Brusonia pap- papyrifera, known colloquially as paper mulberry, a tree native to Korea that grows well on each rocky mountainside known in Korea as dak. And Korean paper art, or what we call hanji, is the traditional handmade paper in Korea. It is the what we call, or it is made from the inner bark of mulberry, a tree native to Korea, and hibiscus many knot, which help suspended the individual fiber in water. Traditional hanji is made in laminated sheet using the traditional weeball and dokchi method. Korean masks have a long tradition with a use in a variety of contexts. Masks of any type are called tal in Korean, but they are also known by many other names such as Gamyun, Gwangdae, Chorani, Talbak, and Talba Gaji. Korean masks come with a black cloth attached to the sides of the mask designed to cover the back of the head and also stimulate the black hair. And Korean mask is unique dichotomous symbol embodying the significance of tradition while allowing the wearer to realize full self-expression and deliberation. Korean painting and arts or Korean paintings art. Western style oil painting in Korean art was in the self-portraits of Korean artist Ko Hui-dong. We can see Ko Hui-dong and another facts about him is regarded as Korea's first webinar style painter and Ko Hui-dong, Korean artist who pioneered in the application of Western technique to traditional painting style. After the World War II, he became a member of South Korean government of Sinman-ri. Ayon dito, si Ko Hoy-dong ay bihasa sa paggawa ng mga tradisyonal na painting at gumagamit siya ng tradisyonal na style sa pagpinta. At siya din ay sumali o naging miyembro ng isa sa gobyerno ng South Korea na tinatawag na Sinman-ri. Arahat, Joseon Buddhist painting in the 16th century. The term arahat or Korean nahan, Chinese lohan, refers to enlightened beings in the Buddhist tradition. Celadon's statues of Buddhist figures have been found in Gaesong, the capital of Goryeo dynasty, and at an ancient temple site in southwestern Korea. This is the painting or what we call the arahat. This is the Joseon Buddhist painting in 16th century in Korea. Another one is, or the third one, were popular subject in the court painting in the late Joseon dynasty, and dozens of them were produced for various occasions, including royal weddings. Pictures in these paintings grow only 3,000 years and symbolizes longevity. This is the painting that have been mentioned, and this is the painting that or were the popular subject in the court in late Joseon dynasty. Three types of painting in Korea. Number one is Buddhist painting. And Buddhist painting is a Goryeo Buddhist painting and architecture are prominent Korean art forms that are said to have originated in 13th and 14th centuries, known for their intricate depiction of Buddhist icon, typically in the form of large hanging scrolls. Artists made use to vibrant color and adorn the pattern with gold. Number two, Confucian paintings. Confucian paintings is Confucianism in Korea is sometimes considered a pragmatic way of holding a nation together without the civil war and internal dissent that were inherent here- inherited from Goryeo dynasty. And the third one is decorative painting. Decorative painting, the vast majority of ancient folk painting were used for decorative purposes. These paintings generally repeat popular motifs with relatively poor techniques. And that's all for today. It is all about Korean arts.
Tibetan art, the spiritual and cultural legacy of the Tibetan people, is reflected in Tibetan art, which has its roots in Buddhist traditions. Tibetan art, which is renowned for its vivid tanka paintings, elaborate mandalas, and expertly wrought metalwork, frequently tells religious stories through images of Buddhas, gods, and holy symbols. Tibetan art has developed over centuries, influenced by Chinese, Indian, and Nepalese creative forms. Its purposes have included visual expression, the dissemination of Buddhist teachings, and the promotion of contemplation. The use of vibrant colors and symbolism defines this particular and spiritual significant form of art. It serves as an indication of Tibetan people's ongoing spiritual and cultural traditions. In addition to showing the artist's talent, its complex mandalas, colorful tanka paintings, and symbolic metalwork provide insights into the deep spiritual concept that forms Tibetan culture. This art form maintains its ancient relations to Buddhism and the rich history of Tibet, even as it continues to evolve into the rich current period. Tibetan art is rich in symbolism, with each component having an important significance. Elements of meaning are expressed through colors, gestures, and even the direction of deities, building a rich tapestry that transcends beauty to convey spiritual truths. Tibetan art traces its roots to the 7th century when Buddhism was introduced to the region, initially influenced by Indian, Nepalese, and Chinese artistic styles. These are the different types of Tibetan arts. The first one is the tanka paintings. Central to Tibetan art, tankas are scroll paintings portraying Buddhist deities, mandalas, and religious narratives. These works are often characterized by vibrant colors, intricate details, and a symbolic language that communicates spiritual teachings. The second one is the mandalas. Intricate geometric patterns known as mandalas serve as tools for meditation. These type circular designs are often featuring a central deity, symbolize the universe and the interdependence of all phenomena. The last one is the metalwork and sculpture. Skilled metal craftsmanship is evident in Tibetan sculptures and ritual objects. Intricately carved statues of Buddhas and ritual items such as butter lamps and ritual knives showcase the fusion of artistic skill and religious symbolism. While rooted in tradition, Tibetan art continues to evolve. Contemporary artists blend traditional techniques with modern influences, exploring new themes while maintaining a connection to the cultural and spiritual essence of Tibetan art. Buddhism plays a central role in Tibetan art, serving as both inspiration and subject matter. Artistic expressions are not mere decorations, but profound vehicles for conveying Buddhist teachings, fostering spiritual contemplation, and facilitating meditation. So that will be all for uh, Tibetan art, and let's proceed to the next topic, which is the Bhutanese.
Good day, I'm back again. My name is Jesslyn Morsha and I'm going to be discussing the Bhutanese art. Before that, let's have a quick overview about Bhutanese art. So from the name itself, Bhutanese, it came from Bhutan. So their art remains an essential part of daily life. So even before up to the present, art plays a crucial role in their daily life because it retains the purity and handcraft of ancient times that rarely manifest itself in Western culture. So certainly, these practices evolve and adapt through the new generations. So, syempre, new generations come, so they need to adapt new ways or new techniques in making art because they have to adapt in constant changes in the world. So, even nag-adapt sila sa new changes, their representation in their art remains the same kasi they make a piece of art which they preserve the internal and external spirituality full of sacred beliefs of the mystic and mysterious land of creating work art from the past. So, in Bhutanese people kasi, they create representation of their religious experience. So, it also a connection with something that goes beyond them, enlightens them creatively, and this is why the 13 traditional arts and crafts known as Zorig Chusum have prevailed to this day. So, we will tackle this Zorig Chusum later on. Now, let's proceed to the Bhutanese art's origin. So, Bhutanese art is similar to Tibetan art. Both are based upon Vajrayana Buddhism and its pantheon of teachers and divine beings. So, the 13 arts are rooted in Buddhism. In Bhutan kasi, Buddhism is their majority religion. So, they are believed to have been introduced by Pema Lingma in the 15th century and categorized in the 17th century by Tenzin Rabgye. The fourth Drok Desi, the title given to rulers. It means Thunder Dragon in reference to Bhutan. So, each work of art contains the same principles, symbolisms, and ideologies that makes this practice so ancestral. So, as I've said earlier, their artworks have similarities kasi they represent their religious experiences in their artworks. Pero, yung artist is, naglilive sila ng print of their own style which contributes to the uniqueness of the piece so that they will notice or malalaman nila kung ano yung kanilang artwork. However, one of the important aspects of Bhutanese art is that it's always anonymous. So, usually sa Bhutanese art, hindi nilalagay ng artist yung name nila sa kanilang artwork kasi they believe that the importance of craft lies in the craft itself, not in those who produce it. So, mas pinahalagahan nila yung artwork itself more than those who produce it. So, art speaks for itself, the same as each representation of belief and value. Thus, this object decorate every home, temple, and street. So, ayun yung ating origin ng Bhutanese art. And then now, let's move on to the 13 arts and crafts or Zorig Chusum of Bhutanese art. So, Zorig Chusum, which means Zo means the ability to make, Rig means science or craft, Chusum which means 13, or Zorig Chusum as the 13 ability to make science or craft. First, here we have Lazo or painting. From the images on Tangkas walls painting, statues to decoration of furniture and windows frame. Lazo is the Bhutanese wall paintings. Next, we have Jinzo or sculpting or clay arts. So, this is the making of religious statues and ritual objects, pottery, and construction of buildings using mortar. So, this is clay arts or sculpting. Next, we have Shingzo, which means wood carving or wood working. So, this is employed in the construction of dzongs and gompas. Next, we have Parzo or carving. So, this is wood, slate, and stone carving. So, this is making such items as printing blocks for religious context. mask, furnitures, altars, and the slate images. Next, we have dezo, or paper making. This is a handmade paper made mainly from the Daphne plant and gum from creeper root. Next is dozo, or masonry. Dozo, or stonework. Stone arts used in the construction of stone pools and the outer walls of zongs or some other buildings. Next is shangzo. Shangzo, or wood turning. This means making a variety of bowls, plates, cups, and other containers. Next is tagso rather. This means weaving. This is the production of some of the most intricately woven fabrics produced in Asia. Next is semzo, or embroidery, or needlework. It is working with needle and thread to make clothes, boots, or the most intricate of applique tangkas. Next, we have lugzo, or casting. This is a production of bronze roof, crests, statues, bells, and ritual instruments. Lugzo, also known as bronze casting. Next, we have tarso, or cane weaving. It is a cane and bamboo work. The production of such varied items as bows and arrows, basket, drinks, containers, utensils, musical instruments, fences, and mats. Next is garzo, or blacksmithing. This is the manufacture of iron goods such as farm tools, knives, swords, and utensils. The last one is troeko, or metal ornaments. It is silver and gold smithing, working in gold, silver, and copper to make jewelry, ritual objects, and utilitarian household items. And yeah, that ends the Bhutanese art. And this is also conclude our lesson, or our discussing about the Asian arts. I hope you guys learned something from our discussion, and thank you for listening, and have a great day ahead.